Welcome back to the Screen Love Affair podcast. It's Brandon, Shea, and Adriana on this episode talking about what I'd like to think is one of my favorite movies of the year. After coming back from the psych ward, getting psychoanalyzed, and having an anxiety trip, we're now here to talk about If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. And disclaimer, no spoiler here, this is not about a quadriplegic person being stalked or haunted, as the title would make you think it's about. It is a much different film. So,
not to savage Brandon about his opening here, but it's not I would kick you, it's I'd kick you. Back to pedantics. And isn't a quadriplegic just someone that's paralyzed?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, if I could use my... Okay, welcome back. No, but
no, this is all staying. It's all staying. We're not
genuinely though. The week of seeing this, Shea was like, "This is really good, dude. You should check it out." Again, I've been moving for what feels like a month now. I was not like wanting to go see I think it's listed as like a thriller or a horror, and the title made me think, yeah, it's about somebody that had their legs chopped off or amputated, presumably by like a killer or something. To me, the title and then looking it up, I was like, it seems kind of like, what could it possibly be? It seems like low effort, low stakes.
Really vague. It's just
gives you
Rose
nothing.
Byrne's face, like
yeah,
up on Rose Byrne.
Which makes a lot of sense,
Actually,
as I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, 20% of the screen time is basically the poster. It is just the single reaction of our lead actress dealing with situations. Which again, I think early on I was like, how can this be great? But by the end of it, I was like, chef's kiss. So, without further ado, I would say on our Lycometer scale, I love this one, and I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about it.
The Hardometer, but once again, I don't want to keep bagging on poor Brandon on this. He took the mantle of taking the intro today, so we're gonna cut him lots of slack because we love him. We love him dearly. But yes, on the Lyco. Oh my God, I just did it.
No, not to get on the pedantics here.
Scale. Yeah, we're keeping it all in. But I also loved this movie. I saw it before either of you. I saw it by myself, and I had the only thing I knew was Rose Byrne is good apparently, and that Conan O'Brien was in it. I'm like, I'm in. So I went and I had what I can only describe, and I'll explain the story later, but a transcendent film watching experience. And
that's an anxiety attack.
But when I get into this, man, you're gonna laugh at this story because it was like I don't even want to tease the story. We'll get into it, but I was blown away by this movie, by how much it snuck up on me and how much I liked it. I think when I wrote my review on Letterboxd, I said something like, "I've never loved a movie that was so intent on making me feel so bad the whole time, this much," and I think that really encapsulates it. It's one of those things, like, again, from a content perspective, it is a miserable thing, but it was genuinely one of the most connected movie watching experiences I have ever had.
Same here.
Like, you hear people, like, there's all these clips of like directors and celebrities talking about the communal, and we've talked about it, the communal experience of watching a movie. I've never had, I don't think, a better communal experience with total strangers. I was by myself at this screening. Total strangers. And no movie encapsulates that better than this, and we'll get into all the details why. But yeah, I absolutely love this one. One of my favorites of the year, without question. So I don't know who. I guess Adriana, you gotta follow that one up.
I agree with both of you. I really loved this movie. It kind of came out of nowhere too, which I loved. I would also put it in my top movies of the year. And all I knew about it was, Rose Byrne is in it, and she's apparently great. And it's like, I heard it was a very deeply uncomfortable movie. And I too went to go see it on my own, but I went on like an afternoon midweek. So I didn't have quite the same communal experience, but I had a very intense, like, I felt like I was the only person in the room. I was so locked into this movie. And it was great in that sense.
On the community front, well, we're spoiler free. I think since the first time since maybe early Marvel did I see a whole theater packed of people sit in their seats after the movie and contemplate and discuss, no post-credit endgame type thing, but just like people sat down and sat with the movie, sat with their people next to them, and would just be like, wow, and like have that cathartic conversation near the end. But yeah, spoiler free, I would say similar to Shea, I had no idea the cast of this whatsoever. And not only is Conan O'Brien in this movie, but so is ASAP Rocky. So that alone, Conan O'Brien and ASAP Rocky are the two main supporting actors, I would say. And yeah, best movie I've seen in a very long time. And with that
Christian
info, that's all you
Slater.
need to know.
Christian Slater.
Christian
yeah,
Slater.
Which, when he
Yeah.
showed up, I was like,
His voice sounded really familiar because you hear him most of the movie, and I honestly thought it was Norm Macdonald for a moment. I'm like, he's dead, and then when Christian Slater shows up, I was like, oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay, but
I had the
yeah,
same thing. I was like, that voice is familiar.
Yeah, I
and
was
then he
cooking,
shows
I'm
up,
like-
and I was like,
but yeah, I would say like just to summarize without spoiling, this is not a movie about somebody missing their legs and trying to escape a situation like a traditional thriller, like I thought it was based on like the very surface level description. This movie is about a mother trying to do the right thing and dealing with a lot of interpersonal issues, both professionally and in her marriage and with her daughter. So that sounds like a terrible blanket review because it is all about the experience watching this. So I think for the viewers at home, this will be very quickly into spoilers, unless you guys have any other general thoughts, because it
jump
does
yeah.
the
I
whole
would say
the whole
don't-
thing.
Don't go in as blind as you can. Don't
Yeah.
read up about
Like,
it.
and
It's-
watch the goddamn movie. Watch the goddamn movie. Like, genuinely, like, there's some movies where, like, hey, guys, we're getting into spoilers now. If you want to stick around and don't care, please don't watch the rest of this if you have not seen the movie.
pause this
I promise you
podcast,
it's worth it.
Go onto your movie theater of choice, buy a ticket, go see it. If you
Now
can.
that being
Yeah.
said, Supreme limited theater releases.
Yes.
Like I saw this
is very
in
likely
Toronto.
you can't watch it.
Yeah, you probably can't watch it now. I saw this in Toronto on the last screening possible, packed theater. To be fair, it's like a 40-person VIP theater. It was only playing at the Varsity Cineplex, which usually has a little bit more art house stuff there. Very hard to see. I tried to like line this up to see other movies doing double features, but it was only at this one theater for the last week. It was in theaters here in Toronto for like 8 days. And like I was looking up box office and stuff like that. Very limited resources. I don't think there's a budget that's widely released, but the highest number I saw box office, I think is still under $500,000. So it's not like a big movie by any chance. But it does have a pretty big cast, as for what I was saying. And again, since I would say we were in the spoiler half at this point, if you liked movies that made you feel bad, like Beau's Afraid or maybe Uncut Gems, this has that similar anxiety trip feeling. But I would say, in my opinion, much better film. I like this significantly more than especially Beau's Afraid. And I think it takes the cake as far as being a better movie than Uncut Gems, even though Uncut Gems sets out to do something totally different, and it's a lot more fun, I think. This movie doesn't have a ton of fun in it.
You
but
thought
it is
Uncut Gems was fun, bro? Are you on crack cocaine?
Yeah.
That's the wildest. Oh my God, dude. I was
I was
so
thinking
stressed for that whole
about-
runtime.
I'm a
about
gambling
this
addict.
because, like, I feel like it's become almost like a meme to call something to compare things to Uncut Gems and be like, oh, this is like Uncut
Totally
Gems, but whatever, Uncut Gems.
I'm guilty
but
of
for
that
moms,
very
for
badly.
motherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an easy like shorthand, but I feel like it almost does like a disservice to this movie and like it has that similar like it is pretty much like 2 hours of anxiety and you're like
2 hours of stress.
stuck.
Yeah.
But Uncut Gems has that thing that we talk about of like you're watching someone make the worst possible choice over and over and you're kind of just along for the ride and you're locked in, you can't do anything about it, and that's where the discomfort comes from. But I think
This is more hopeless.
I saw someone describe it this way and I thought it was spot on. It's like the discomfort comes from the fact that she doesn't have any other choices to make. It's so claustrophobic and like you're kind of trapped in this powerlessness that the character feels.
And for the most
and
part,
it's so
she does
effective.
make logical choices for the situation we're presented. And the horror in this, and I had two old ladies in this movie who like, because there's a few moments that are very gut punching, where one old lady very like, because it was a super respectful theater, one old lady says, "This is the scariest horror movie I've ever seen," and like it's not a horror movie, but you feel hopeless and despair. And I think on a personal note, like I say to Shea all the time, I'm too goddamn busy all the time. I'm dealing with so much stuff all the time. watching this movie, is even the opening 5 minutes, I was like, oh, this character's me. And then the rest of that movie, I was like, oh no, like I even had that thought I should go to therapy. And then I'm like, the message of this movie might be you can't trust your therapist sometimes. Like, yeah, long story long, I was like,
not if your therapist is Conan O'Brien or
Yeah.
Rose Byrne. Apparently.
The most ironic thing would be if like a YouTube reviewer that does like a 5-10 minute YouTube review of this movie, like a Jeremy Johns or something, has a sponsor for BetterHelp at the start of the review. That would be, but yeah, no, incredibly relatable film. I think that's why it shines above. Or like Uncut Gems, you're kind of like, well, if I was Adam Sandler, I wouldn't double down on that sports game, or I wouldn't do all these extra scummy things to keep the high going, kind of thing. This movie, it's like it's a mother, not a single mom, but virtually. She's kind of on her own dealing with a lot of stuff. Also, I would say a big inciting incident in this is there's a flood in her apartment, which is a house she rents. I live in a house that had a huge flood back at the Eddington Review 3 months ago. The landlord did not take action. It was like constantly up in the air. This movie is basically my girlfriend's point of view, and I was the Norm Macdonald, not Norm Macdonald, but I was the Christian Slater being like showing up, taking care of business, being like, see, was that so hard? And then to her, it's like, so I gave her a huge hug after the movie. I'm like, I'm so sorry that I felt like this. And I know you felt way worse. Cause yeah, the whole inciting incident is like a massive property damage flood to where they're living. They're dealing with all these things, constantly having to deal with like a customer service or somebody who should deal with things and them not dealing with those things. I say to Shea, like on a week, I'll text him almost weekly being like, dude, this interaction I had at the drive-thru, the interaction I had with my insurance agent, like whatever. Every time I deal with customer service, it is a nightmare experience. And this movie dials that feeling into 11. Like narratively, her and her husband should own their house. They're both working professionals with a family. But they rent it because I think narratively they needed one more person to let them down dealing with the situation, because this movie is just looking for somebody to help you solve an issue they're supposed to help with. And people just don't, they let you down. And like, I don't know, as a people pleaser, I guess this movie is a nightmare fuel inducing thing, like constantly trying to make the right call, doing the wrong thing without you knowing, or like immediately being able to discern that. And then whenever you're supposed to rely on anybody, like everybody in this film lets everybody down. And it is not in big ways, just these little things they add up. And I got to stop talking about it. I have goosebumps. I have the neck pain I felt in the theater watching this movie coming back. Like I've never felt so tense in a theater. And I would very quickly say, your letterbox review for this was mine for The Florida Project. Like I saw The Florida Project and I fucking cried. I was like, oh my God, dude, that movie made me feel terrible. It made me think of a lot of my life. And it was a movie that like hurt to watch, but it was so well done. And this movie does all that for me. Like I would, without a doubt, like I would say, I think this is a perfect movie for what it set out to do and how it made me want to feel terrible the whole time. So I would say filmmaking wise, I talked about this with the Good Boy review, where I feel like the filmmaking of that and the way they did their things was so pure. And this one, it does that and it elevates it. And like, this is definitely like a 5 for me on Letterboxd, because I could not find any issues with it. Like, I was even going to make the joke that like in Shelby Oaks, it's the main character's face reacting to stuff for most of the runtime, but here it's super effective. And the claustrophobic cinematography and the way they do a lot of the stuff in this movie just lands back to back.
Yeah.
And
the way you never see the daughter's face, like all of it is so,
yeah,
I don't know, it's so good. Rose Byrne is like like her Oscar campaign starts now. Like
and
so
and
good.
I looked up her other movies, and it's like she's like the mom in Bad Neighbors 1 and 2. Like, you know, she's always been like a very supportive actress. Like I don't know if she's really had the ability to be like a leading lady. And in this movie, it's like it's her show, it's her thing the whole time. And yeah, I've never felt worse for a woman on screen than this movie. Like I can't stress that. Like yeah.
Well, speaking of the kid, the first movie that I was thinking about when I was watching this was actually Babadook. I was like, there was that stretch where the kid is like the demon child kid, and it was like I'm like, that was like, okay, let's take that and stretch that into a movie and then add a bunch of other incredibly compiling stressful sequences. So it was like, because it was like just the way the kid was nagging, like in the way that kids do, but it was just like that kind of concept of like, oh my God. And
everything's framed. Also tonally, I thought it was such an interesting movie because it's so like, it's grounded, but it's not. Like it
Mhm.
everything feels a little bit unreal in a
Yes.
way that is highly effective. Like even the hole in the ceiling, there's this strange, like almost supernatural
Ethereal
quality
thing.
Glowing.
to it. And, you know, obviously the metaphor too. The kid's illness, which is always talked about very vaguely, and like you don't really know what's going on with her, and what, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's all, yeah. I don't know. Very very interesting.
I feel like I want to hear a bit from Shea, but I would say there's a scene in the movie when the doctor goes, "Oh yeah, it's not like a surgery. You pull it out and it'll like naturally heal." And like I swear, like again, the theater experience was top tier. And even these moments where I could hear somebody make a comment was the whole theater is on the same wavelength because this one old lady, same one I think, goes, "Oh no!" Like is like you just
Yeah.
immediately know she's gonna make that call of like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
I've been trying to." I feel again, I couldn't relate harder. Her feeling so set up to fail by the medical system, her feeling alone and just trying to solve these problems all the time, and then when that thought registers from again a great performance where you can see the gears turning. Everybody knew in the theater like she was eventually going to be the one to just try to gloss it over or remove it or whatever. And you know, he said it's like it's hard to watch a character make bad choices over and over again. I really feel like watching her and understanding and empathizing. This is an empathy horror, empathizing with her position and what she's trying to do. Yeah, everybody immediately clocked where things were going, but not in like a way that's like, oh yeah, I know, like you know, the trap doors in the basement or whatever, like we talked about in Shelby Oaks. It's like the communication of what might happen was so effective because of the mode that was set. And there's also a lot of weird foreshadowing in this movie, which we'll get
Yeah.
into. But like,
It just creates
uh,
more like dread and anticipation.
oh, the dread anticipation, yeah.
Well,
But
kind of like what you guys were honing in on there, like the thing that, like, more than I think any movie that I could think of, this blending of what is real and what isn't was so fascinating because you hear about like psychological disorders and stuff like that, and like this concept that like it feels so real, like these people, like you talk to somebody that's not there because you think that like it's, and no more in a movie where I was like, it just happens so naturally, and the movie compiles like how tired she is, like all of these things. And the movie doesn't do, other than specific moments where there's those like lighting visual cues, and almost all of them are confined really to the hole and the like when she's like actually for sure asleep. But otherwise, you don't know what is real. Like, I was like, when the doctor tells her that, I'm like, this is not happening, right? Like, I, in that same dread, because I'm like, there's no way you can just, like, I was like, is this real? And she's like, what? I can just do it at home? And like, you know, like it, and I was dreading because I'm like, is this psychosis? Is this like she's overtired? Like, all of these things have compiled, and there's not some stupid visual cue, like it doesn't hold your hand and be like, oh, this is definitely not real and whatever. Like, it brings us into the character, like it
Yeah.
feels real, it's totally organic, but just, you know, on like kind of your own level, you're like, this doesn't sound right. And so, but the movie gives you no indication, and I think that is one of the best assets of this movie, is that like it really makes you feel and embody how she is feeling, not just
Yeah.
like on a narrative, like it's not telling you that, it's through the mechanism of filmmaking that you just are so like, you are in that with them, and you have a little less more awareness, I would say, because you're not in that, but just enough to be like, oh fuck, like you, like I had the same bits in my theater when people were like, oh, like there was audible groaning when they were like, you can just pull it out at home, and they're like, oh, like I did, like people
Yeah.
around me did. It was
The
like,
feeling
oh no,
is always real. Like
yes,
like it's so truthful.
yes,
yeah,
And it
I feel like
conveys that so effectively.
a huge part of this too, and like I joke about this with bad movies where I try to guess what's happening next because I'm either bored or like I want to feel smarter than the screenwriter. But with this whole movie, there isn't a ton of breathing room, so like you're never finding a moment to like feel bored or feel like you wonder what happens next. Is scene after scene of just like dealing with one battle after another would have been a better title. You know what I mean? Like I felt like there was nonstop conflict, and even with some of these conflicts and moments, and we talked about like other movies where the editing or the story, they give too much time to it. There's a lot of scenes in this movie. Like a good one is like when ASAP Rocky falls through the attic hole as he's effectively trying to help her. He's like, "Oh, I got a guy that could help you." Like he could have been the Horcrux of fixing this whole thing, and he falls through the hole, and we don't see him. We don't deal with it. It just kind of almost immediately cuts to the next day she's at work. And I feel like with a lot of like, at least my own ability of dealing with shit, I was just like, that's really it, man. Like you go through something, you do something, you're constantly dealing with things, and then it's just you're at work the next day. And like there's times when like she gets that email from her rogue client, which I want to dissect a bit more. It's like she's layered so many times with so many things on her plate and things hitting her and affecting her, and she's just persisting one thing after another. And yeah, I really like the narrative choices to just like not gloss over, but get to the next day, get to the next scene, get to the next issue. And the fallout will come later, and they never really shy away from stuff, even though I think comparing it to like a slasher or whatever, it felt like some of the biggest blow ups kind of almost happen off screen, but that's not what they're trying to show you. They're trying to keep you in her headspace and that constant dread and anticipation for what could possibly come next of any of these situations she's in. But yeah, like again, let's talking about like the characters and whatnot, and like our main character being the therapist who has to deal with other people's problems. Yeah.
But just on that note, I thought the way, and this is why I think it's good to not know things about movies, I thought the reveal that she is also a therapist was fucking amazing.
Yeah, walking into her own office.
I popped so hard because it opens with her talking to Conan, a therapist.
Very intimately and then, like falling apart.
Yeah. And she seems like a mess, and she's going through it, like she's got all of this going on, and she seems like such a mess, and then she fucking walks out of Conan's office to then welcome her client into her office to do a session with her. And even that was a moment where I'm like, oh fuck, like that was such a great bit that I had no idea, right, like who she was, what she did, and I felt like that reveal in and of itself was so fucking great because it just compounds. You're like, oh no,
no.
It just...
On that note, like I think I told this to you, Shea, after, but it was a lot funnier than I was expecting it to be. Yeah. Like, it's such a dark sense of humor. And yeah, all of the little subversions are great. Like another one that I thought was so smart at the end when the husband comes back and they're like, wants to get into the room to like see the daughter. He's like, you left her with the babysitter, right? And she's like stalling because like of course there's no babysitter, and they open the room and he's sitting there, but then it's like, no, I'm not the fucking babysitter. Your daughter was like banging against the wall screaming, and you're like, and he like fully sells her out immediately. And it just bits like that were so great.
It's like an EKG machine, like a heart rate monitor, you know, where it ticks highs and lows like that so much consistently.
You get like a bit of relief, and then you're back
into it. Yeah, never out too long. And like what Shea was talking about, like the therapy reveal, I also popped for that. And even the hallway she walks down, the little bit of like set dressing and art that we see in this movie, that therapist hallway is so soul crushingly soulless. Like all the art is that contemporary, like beige plaster mold looking stuff, and it's like a hallway with endless no art doors or expression. And again, I think that's a subtle detail that spoke a lot about that scene, and I thought that would just be one scene. Then she goes into her office. I'm like, oh, she lives here. Like she actively works in this environment. She lives in that office dealing with clients. And what we were saying, like between foreshadowing the clients, like she starts the movie in Conan O'Brien's office in that scene, having a bit of like a breakdown about life and da-da-da-da-da. And you get the sense he doesn't want to deal with her. And she's like, well, I had this dream. I like, we'll talk about it later. I don't, Bill, you know, I had a dream where I kissed you. And then her like first or second client is like, I had a dream where we kissed. How does that make you feel? And she's kind of like indifferent, like, oh, wow, that's, you know, fucked and weird. And, you know, it's, I think like, yeah, a huge part of this movie is like, I should go to therapy. I'm this woman to a T. But then I was also like, this movie's also saying therapists are not the answer. So, and she meets this mother character. And actually I want to ask you guys this fan theory. The only time that my girlfriend and I were like, oh, I bet what happens next. The crazy mom character, she has Riley the baby with her, and she's obsessed with the baby. She's got some sort of postpartum issue, maybe. She's having a lot of issues. We never see the baby, and there's a blanket draped over the little carrier the whole time. The only prediction we made, in which we were wrong about, was like, I bet there is no baby. I bet she's just a Looney Tune. And
Yeah.
Looney Tune she was, but there was a real baby. And that, again, that ebb and flow, that heart rate monitor is like, oh my God, I wish there was no baby. But then that gets added in and you're like, Jesus Christ.
I thought the
Um,
same thing, and I think the movie kind of
wow,
sets
okay.
that up because the baby is so silent. Like it's not making a peep. You're like there, and it's covered every time. It's like there's
yeah.
no baby. This woman's just kind of crazy. She thinks she has a baby.
Even when she
Maybe
calls the
it died, and
husband,
she's like still grieving it. Even having a husband,
the
yeah.
husband
But then
sounded like he
no,
didn't know anything.
worst case scenario, there is a baby and she's fucking gone. Now it's your and it's like, oh god, this is so much worse than I
And
thought.
then everything's so mirrored too, because when she goes to call the husband, and at first it's almost like he sounds like that's like an ex-girlfriend, or he doesn't know there's a kid,
Yeah.
or yeah, he sounds like maybe she was his stalker. So I loved all that. But then when you find out he's aware and he's like, oh, she's just like this. I'm at work. I'm not gonna go pick up my kid. And again, it's emblematic of a lot of the men in the movie. And again, I think like compared to a movie like Men, trying to lampoon all my boys, men, this movie does it way more effectively here. It's just like that like difference of motherhood or whatever, but everything's really well mirrored. Like her husband to her husband, and obviously the crazy lady, she every session or every interaction with her is almost what happens with our main character in the next scene. Between her running off at the end on the beach to that's exactly what our main character does when the world finally gets too much. Between abandoning her child, when the crazy lady leaves her child at the office and goes AWOL, it is like that night where she's like, I got to go back to the house and leave her kid fully at the motel to go back to the house. So there's all these little things of like whatever that bad mom did, our character was eventually doing. And all of her clients kind of mirrored her in a different way between her own therapy sessions or the actions she would take later in the movie. And it's just like, it's a little subtle layering like that I just was like, man, what a movie. Like what a well thought out idea and simple, not like a big Avengers Endgame fight, not like a big plot twist reveal. Just everything was just too much all the time in the best way possible. So I just, yeah, I
Well,
picked up so
even
much and I can't get over it.
even when Christian Slater showed up, I'm like, is this real? Like I was
Yeah.
like, you're so untrusting of anything happening and unsure. And it's like, it just kind of derails you the whole time. And like, I want to talk a little bit about the experience I had, because I went from this movie, we saw Frankenstein together. I went to see this by myself, and then I met up with Adriana and Nick and some other friends for Nick's birthday that night. And I had to tell Adriana, I was like, I had like a genuine emotional connection with a seatmate that was like 3 seats over from me. We were like, there was a gap between us basically. And to the point that like this movie was such a connector that like her and I could tell we were feeding off of each other. And this was a total stranger. I have no idea who this girl was, and whatever. But like we were like, I could feel like she would react and I would react, and we were clearly feeding off of each other. And we didn't have a huge crowd. Like it sounds like you had a bigger theater than we did, because I also, again, I saw this like like alone, and there was a few other people in there, but like we were all having a similar experience. But her and I, with our proximity, I think we're really just feeding it off each other. And to the point where I was like, I have never felt like a random, genuine connection with another human being, to the point that when we like left the theater, we both looked back at each other. Like we both went separate ways around in the forum. It opens like a circle. She went right, I went left. And there was just, we both kind of looked when we were halfway across and like connected
That's like
again.
Casablanca,
And
where it's like, we'll always have Paris, but it's like, we'll always have, if I had legs, I would kick you.
well, exactly. And it was again, like every beat, every, like all of these things we've already talked about that are disconnected, but individual moments, like all fed into this experience of like, again, there was these weird bleak moments of humor where you kind of laugh, and then there's those moments of like, oh fuck, and like squirming when she's actually taking this tube out.
Oh,
Like
that
again,
tube scene.
I'm
Yeah.
like, was that real? Like it feels so long. Like this feel like, I don't know how long it would be, but it feels so weird, and like it's just so much that it's like, it was, you don't trust yourself. And it's not like because you're an idiot one way or another or anything. It's like the movie puts you off balance that way. And like even again, like this is one of those ones where like filmmaking, film being a visual medium. This isn't just story at all, really, that contributes to it. It certainly does, but this is the claustrophobic film angles, like constant wonders. We never see the kid, I guess until the very end, which, like, fuck, we got to talk about the ending too, because, like, was that real? What happened? What do we think? But also, like you said about The Office, that is the most comically claustrophobic office. There's 16 fucking rooms or whatever, like like every door, but we only know 2 of the rooms. And there's, as far as we know, there's 2 offices in use.
There's
4 if
only
you include the
2
bathrooms.
therapist.
Yeah, right.
There doesn't seem to be a receptionist. Like, this is
No.
No waiting
And it
rooms.
feels like it's so narrow that you'd have to, like, shimmy past somebody in the hallway
most
to get
bad
by.
vibes therapy office I've ever seen. Like, it's
Yeah,
so
For real.
And the rooms feel really oppressively small, and it just, like, every fucking component of filmmaking, it feels like, comes together in this movie to just give you the most fucking, like, agonizing experience in the
Dude,
best possible way.
Even like I said, like, customer service wise, this movie got me so dialed in. One of the biggest laughs is her at a convenience store getting those prepaid MasterCards. Because like that's another claustrophobic scene where she's, surrounded by people, not getting a moment to breathe. But yeah, when she goes into the hotel lobby to buy booze a few times, to the point where she starts taking it, which I adore. Like, I love vengeful shoplifting. I think that's the only way we can reclaim our personal health. I think bad customer service is, like, ripe these days, as far as just, like, people being so disconnected. And I love, like, all those, like, micro scenes that's telling you so much about the characters. And phenomenal filmmaking in that sense. But
I felt
I can't get
really,
over it.
like, on edge the whole movie. Like, I kept expecting something bad to happen with the daughter. Like, the hamster scene was
Oh my
Oh
god!
my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
And then,
Thank God one of us has a good long-term memory here. Holy cow!
oh boy,
Oh,
I was just
yeah.
like so nervous. And then the cut from the flattened hamster to the lasagna just killed
Big
me.
laugh.
It was such a
Yeah.
great release of tension.
That was a gut buster. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
And just the hamster when it runs away, by the way, like, clearly is like a little, like, it's like a dinky car with a hamster mold as it just, like, jitters. Like, it looked so silly that we were all laughing at that part, and then it just and gets flattened, and it's, like, really gory. You're like, oh, and you can, again, the whole time that's happening, by the way, and you can hear the daughter, like, vaguely in the background, like screaming,
Yes,
and you're like,
screaming.
just adding all these layers, and you're like, ah.
You guys are describing
Oh, it was
it,
great.
and I'm, like, genuinely reliving it, traumatized, being like, that did happen. Yeah, like, yeah. Oh, I'm trying to remember other things, but I don't want to actually have to go talk to a therapist after this interview. So, like, like the hamster again, there's, like, some foreshadowing there, right, where it's like she's like, oh, I just didn't want one more thing to take care of. They get it immediately, backfires. The daughter in the car, if you're paying attention to her dialogue, she's like, why doesn't it love me? I'm doing all the right things. And it's like, that's the mom feeling all this bullshit. And it's just, like, unreal. Holy cow. I'm trying to think of even I had a point, but just remembering that scene, I'm like, oh no, that's it.
I'm so sad.
The automotive scenes in this movie, like, you watch so many movies or TV shows where people are in a car and you don't feel that tense or panicked, and here you do. Just like that natural death trap of a car where you're going 100 kilometers an hour or whatever in a vehicle, that's a layer. But I think for me, as somebody, again, I related too much on the weirdest levels in this movie, like her eating the cheese off the pizza while, like, hungover, admittedly. I'm like, been there. So, but my most relatable thing was the inevitable crash out she has when she flips her lid at the parking lot guy at the school when she's parked in a normal parking spot, and he comes up to be like, you can't idle. I've been there. I've had a guy be like, hey, technically this is a green zone, you can't idle your car here. And I'm like, I need 5 goddamn minutes to check my phone, to be, like, just to be alone, to be interrupted when you're in your car alone. Like, I've had a homeless guy interrupt me on in my car, and it's like that feeling of being robbed and assaulted. Like, there's a limp Bizkit song that's just like, They rape us with talking, and it's like that's how I feel all day dealing with 20, 30 people in a given day, feeling like I'm lacking empathy. And when you need those 5 minutes to just have your moment, get your bearings straight, the scene where the parking lot guy comes up, I was right there. I was like, I've lived that. Like, we talk about Final Destination being really good for giving you horror that you could see coming, like no one's comfortable at a dentist's office. In this movie, it was the horrors of like everyday interactions that just like, even on a good day, you're not having a good day dealing with those interactions. And I just, yeah, beautifully done. Cause yeah, I can't stress that enough. There's no scene where I couldn't relate. There's no scene, even like looking at the hole in her ethereal thing. I was like, I've been there, man. Like when my basement flooded, I'm looking at my flooded basement with all my like podcast gear in it. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, my life's kind of ruined for the next 3 months. This is great. And I didn't need an ethereal being or divine cosmic entity like being hinted at. I was already kind of like at that, I feel like the sentence or the statement, you stare into the abyss and the abyss stares back, is what applies to that, and just general dread when you're like looking at all the things you need to do and you're overwhelmed. Like, masterfully communicated, at least to me, as somebody who overly empathized with a movie that's already a movie about like being empathetically attacked for 90 minutes straight. Pacing was so good. I can't get over that. I would say, yeah, what I would say there, I'm like trying not to fucking have a breakdown thinking about it. Uh, the one Bible quote in this movie, which was like, he'd better tie a milestone around his neck and throw it in the ocean as to not stumble another human. I was like, again, as a people pleaser, like I got goosebumps saying it aloud again, but it was like, it's like Matthew 3:14 or something. I looked it up before the podcast, but absolutely crushing. I was just like, that is, I think the biggest theme in the movie of just like trying not to bother other people, but then in a state where other people are either bothering you or unhelping and there's no one to help you but yourself. It's like, it encapsulates it so well. It displays it so well. And yeah, I think even the most like meat-headed individual to watch this movie, other than leaving the theater being like, oh yeah, if I fucking sucked, made me feel like shit. It gets the point across so well, and it's on the nose when it needs to be in the right way, but it adds up so well and subtly. Like it's the whole Shrek layers thing. It's like I'm like an onion. This movie is an onion. It's like eating an onion like an apple. You're biting through every layer and it hurts. It's great. I can terrible sales pitch, but holy cow.
No, I think that's a great sales.
Yeah, like I don't even know, like conceptually, it's like, I guess the thing I really want to make sure we get at least some conversation in on is Conan. I fucking loved him in this, and he's definitely Conan, but not in like necessarily the like, he's not zany and dancing around kind of energy, but like him as like this character, like he is a shitty therapist, like that's definitely very very clear.
No nonsense.
But I just loved the, like there was that stretch, and again this the movie itself, like recalling it feels like a fever dream, like it's like trying to revisit a nightmare you're trying to forget kind of energy. But there's this bit where I think it's when he comes into her office and he does this kind of like monologue that
monologue,
just feels
yeah.
and that just feels like it's like such an extended bit, and like she's kind of baffled by the whole thing, and like again just like a great moment. But I feel like just the way like he blew me away. Like I thought maybe like he'd be a one-off like cameo energy and just like at the beginning, but like he's not in it a shit ton or by any means, but like consistently throughout. And I thought like even on those moments, like his energy, whatever it was, like, and I think like casting him, it wasn't a gimmick casting, because there was something about the energy he brings just as a human being that also works to add to this kind of feeling that the movie is trying to give to you. So you kind of shave the edges, so it's not a comical energy, but it's this manic energy that I think really adds to this role, where it just again is like again I cannot compliment this movie enough, that literally every aspect, from the script to the shots to the casting to everything, just serves to be another way this movie just adds to the feeling it's trying to get you to feel, and it's like absolutely stupendous because of that.
Yeah.
And I That's it.
impressed with Mary Bronstein wrote, directed, and also played the Doctor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that
And,
was
like,
her? Okay.
this is only her like second feature, and her last one was in 2008. So like,
Wow.
yeah. And it was like Greta Gerwig was in it. I'm like vaguely curious about that, but like I think it's a very different style, more like mumblecore comedy. But that, I think, comedic sensibility comes through for sure. And having Conan there, even Rose Byrne is like known for like a lot of her comedic work, like she breakout role in Bridesmaids and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I think having that comedic energy, like, or manic energy as you put it, really adds to it. And Conan is such a like great presence here. Like he's Conan, but he's not. I thought he did like a really, really good job of playing this character that is kind of, I don't know, like not unfeeling, but just sort of like done.
I would definitely say to dial in on this, because I think we all like are agreeing on all that. But I would say the thing with Conan and the thing with this movie, we talked about Eddington, and we said like this is a great way of showing how people no longer communicate well. Like, everyone's so extreme in that movie, and things are like, people are harder to deal with. But I think this movie also has a similar through line of people don't really connect anymore, like at all. In this movie, no one's ever really connecting. And when they do, it's so short lived. And when you want your therapist to connect to you, as they do on both sides of her and her clients and him and her and all this, it's like that scene with the monologue really highlights that, because it goes from this thing of him coming to give her some peace of mind, be like, hey, sorry I wasn't there for you during that crisis with the infant baby and the cops being called and all that being left on you. I'm here for you now. And she's like, oh, thanks. She wants to talk. He's like, let me tell you a story about when I was in college, and then you can even see her lines of like, oh yeah, and she switches back to therapist mode of listening to him. It's like being a paid for listener, and people giving you the time because they're being paid or expected to deal with you, much like the contractor who just stops working on the house because he has to go deal with his dead mom. It's like, what do you say to that? You can't be like, no, dude, fix my house. It's like all the times you pay for people's attention and time and they don't really give it to you. It's like, that is so emblematic of the world we live in now. And I feel that every day in almost every interaction. Again, why I'm a head case just like her. But like, honestly, I think that's like really exemplified in that, when he's like, oh, I'll comfort you the only way I know how, by talking about myself. And when she's the one that wants to be like, yeah, this crazy thing, he's like, let me tell you a story. And then she switches into like, like, yep. Oh, wow. Like, she's placating him a little bit. But by the time the story's over, she's just genuinely shocked with this information. Like, what do you want me to do with this information? And that's like a thing I feel you could say all the time in this movie. Like, be it the paid professionals, psychiatrists, the doctors, what do you want me to do with this information? When she's like having a hard time picking a date for this life threatening illness or whatever. It's like, what do you want me to do with, like, I don't care that your house has been screwed over, you live in a motel, your husband's on deployment. Like, nobody cares about anybody. And it's never said out loud, but it's felt loudest in scenes like that, where also on that note, other great scenes, when she finally goes to the support group meeting, I was right there with her there too. When she gets up and leaves being like, this is not helping anybody, you should feel bad. Like, this is an unfathomable, unexplainable thing. Like, yeah, I love that support group meeting, because again, that's
just
also
the energy of it. She has a plate full of donuts. She's like sitting so far away from everyone else too. It's just everything feels so hostile.
Everything feels hostile. Yeah, again, when you see movies and they'll have quotes from like lesser known reviews to like boast it. So like, it'll be like, the horror magazine.net said one of the best horror movies of the year. I think that would be like, if I saw this in the trailer, I would not doubt it. Everything's so hostile all the time. Adriana, Screen Love Affair. Like, yeah, 100%. No, I agree. But yeah, that meeting. And I feel like I've been there. Like not to get personal on the podcast, but it's like, yeah, I think when my parents got a divorce, I went to like a teacher signed me up for like the Rainbow Support Group, and it was brutal. I show up and there's all these kids that are emo and messed up, and I'm fine. I'm always fine. Why would I not be
Brandon,
fine?
totally put together, dude.
Totally
that
put together.
10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, removed from all of these things happening, is totally
still
not
bringing it up.
impacted by divorce and family and anything.
Not one bit. Yeah, but that was like the thing. I remember being in this like support group meeting, and everyone's like, and then when my mom left, and they're like sob story in like, I don't know, the 8th grade or something, like 7th grade, and this sob story after sob story, and they're like, wait, what do we do? I'm like, oh, it's great. I have 2 Christmases now. I really like my new stepdad. Like things are good. They're fine. And like performatively, I'm like, they're fine. Like this is an issue. I was mad I got recommended to come here. Like I'm fine. Like totally fine. And seeing this character acting that way and just sitting, I was like looking at this movie and be like, maybe I do have a lot to really unpack here. Maybe I should go to therapy. But now I'm like, no, I'm like her. I know what I'm doing. Everything's fine. I just gotta make it through the week. Make it through the week, Brandon.
The thing with like Conan being her therapist, like that's not a representative picture of therapy. They should not be crossing those boundaries to begin with, because they're coworkers and like they have an existing relationship outside of the therapist patient relationship. So like for her to be going to him in the first place is a bad idea, because it's crossing streams that shouldn't be crossed. But like she has no one else, so like she has to go have this outlet. But yeah, it's just all
I love that she basically makes a friendship with ASAP Rocky, and ASAP Rocky, again, I think his performance is great. He's the closest thing we get to like a pure comic relief character. Because he kind of nopes his way through this movie. He's like he's no nonsense in the human practical side. Kind of like when you watch the movie Nope and they title drop it, it's like that classic like, hey, you got to go look at the ethereal being in my crawl space that flooded. Da, 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 da. He's cool. He's chill. He's a chill dude. But by the end, when things have blown up, he's like, oh hell no! Like I'm not talking to your husband. I don't like no. You fucked me, lady. I'm out. I think his character in this was great for that, and it does make me wonder, like, again, like the pitch meeting or the ideas or however this came together. I'm glad it did, but I do wonder, like, who went into some sort of boardroom and was like, I have this great anxiety trip, like Bo's afraid, or where it's all kind of a dream, but also kind of weird, but also not bloated and full of shit. But I also want ASAP Rocky and Conan O'Brien to be the only 2 other actors, and maybe Christian Slater will show up. You know what I mean? Like, it's a miracle that like, these people found themselves in this, and they all play their roles perfectly, and like there's no muddied water. I think if we're being honest, tangent here, I would say this deals with like substance abuse better than weapons in a way, and I think I've grown to appreciate that movie and where the substance abuse lines went in. But when she goes to drink or to smoke weed and those help her with her bad decisions, I do like how obviously when she goes to ASAP Rocky's place and there's that little thread that's being pulled of like, can I just order like a brick of cocaine or whatever? And it's just like, she's not looking for drugs. She's not looking to be that person, but it's just like when you're out of answers and there's nothing you can do and you're just trying to take care of yourself and you're YouTubing breathing exercises because therapy has failed you, your husband's failed you, your school and teachers and the medical system has failed you. It's like, yeah, you know what? I will go to the guy's motel room and order a brick of cocaine. That does seem like something that might temporarily give me some sort of reprieve from whatever I'm going through, So I thought that was subtle and clever, and it spoke a little bit more to like that layer of like dealing with things without ever like getting like bogged down in her being like a crazy alcoholic or using drugs as an outlet. It was there and it was noted and it made sense to me. It wasn't like this big like, mama, please stop drinking, I have a tube in my stomach. Like, it was very, they never went that route, and I'm glad they didn't. I felt like very logically there.
Well, one of the things I wanted it was probably the only thing that she did that I felt less like, I'm like, okay, this is an example of the bad decision. You're intentionally inflaming this part, was actually related to the parking. Like that she constantly, like, to a degree I understand, it's like she's so busy, she's got so much other shit she has to be doing, like I understand the franticness, but that was like, I feel like the one kind of thing, like, where it wasn't just like that she's entirely a victim the whole time. Like, she definitely is, but this is one component that it's like, you know how this is going to go if you do this,
Parking in the loading zone.
and
Yeah.
you kept doing it, and like every time she would go in, like, even if it was not the point of the scene, like it was transitionary, you would still hear the honking in the back, and like all these and getting the other mom to like go in with the kid, and like all this other bullshit. And so it was one of those moments where I felt like, too, like, you kind of mentioned it, and it made me think of this, Adriana, when you said about like, well, she shouldn't be going to see Conan. It's not, and I think that's, again, just partly makes this better and more realistic, is that like she is a victim. Things are like it's not fair. It's not that she deserves all of this behavior, but when you're when you're in bad spots like that, people tend to make bad decisions again.
Yeah.
And it is these little things about like, again, like the fact that she's leaving the kid in the middle of the night by herself, like, that's not a good decision. I
No.
understand why you're making it, but it's not a good decision, and you are making this worse. And for like every one of those moments, I felt like bore fruit. Leaving the kid alone when she shows up at the house and doesn't expect anyone to be there, and Christian Slater's there, and now she has to go back, and he's like, "Where's the kid?" Oh, like all of these things come to a head. So this situation now becomes more stressful, but it's because of the bad decisions she was making to further compound the stress in her life and everything else, which is again, real and relatable. Like, you don't make the best decisions for yourself when you're spiraling. That's the whole point.
And if she didn't make an
it's
enemy of
driven
that guy, then
by,
when she was
like,
idling, he wouldn't come bother, you know. And like, there's a dogma to the movie in a lot of ways, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. And it's driven by like this desire to like escape the
Yes.
like stuckness of her situation. Like, she feels so powerless. There's so little that she has control over. So yeah, like doing those things, buying drugs, like leaving the daughter in the middle of the night, like these are the only ways that she feels she can like get away and be alone and like have a moment to herself, kind of thing. And that, I think that is very relatable. But yeah, you still are like so on edge, because it's like this is not the right decision.
Right. And even the parking, right? It's like, I get why you're in a rush. Like, you're in a rush. It's the morning. You got to get to work. You got to do all these things. You got the house, like all of the reasons, like, you understand why she's making the call to try and rush through that process, but knowing it's going to compound the problem, and maybe you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But, you know, like, that just is one of those recurring stressors where it's just like, oh my God, like, you're just like, every little moment where it's like, yeah, like, it's, and I think it's to the movie's benefit, where it's like, you like, I don't know the right words to actually like particularly articulate this, but like, she's not just victimized. It's not like a helplessness, like it's part of it, like that's definitely in there, but it's not just like, look how oppressive the world is all the time and all of these things, and you're just a helpless victim and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not, I mean, that's part of it, but it's that you are also active. You're still participating, and you can make it better or worse for yourself when these kinds of things happen. But also not to like blame her. Like, again, like, we all do that. When you spiral in life, you're not making great decisions. That's the it contributes to that spiral. And I think that, like, it just captured all of that so perfectly, and it's like, it feels so kind of authentic, I guess, is maybe the word to use there, is that it's just like, again, like, I was baffled, and the experience, like I said, I was like, Brandon was telling me, like, all these people, we stayed and we talked afterwards, like, this, I can't even explain this thing, like, that I had, me and this girl, this spiritual connection I had with a complete stranger. And it's like, it's one of those things where, fuck, if this isn't the kind of movie that, like, I wish got that experience and got, like, I don't even know who distributed it, I don't even remember, but it's like, if this is the kind of experience that more people got to have, like, fuck, this is the kind of, like, again, the best kind of example of a communal experience at a movie that you internalize. You can totally, like, it's all personal, but this is the magic of movies and experiencing that together, is that we're all going on this trip as individuals, but we're all sharing it together. And like, again, like, I just cannot speak highly enough about this movie, that again, I knew because Conan was in it, and I loved Conan, and then went in and had one of the most wildly antagonistically stressful but fun somehow, and just transcendent experiences at the same time. Like,
I feel
what
like
a
at the start of
fucking
this review,
accomplishment.
you were like, you felt Uncut Gems was fun, and now I'm sitting here and be like, you thought that was fun, Shay? But like, I know what you mean. I
Well, but
totally know
this
what you
has,
mean.
I think, obvious, like,
There's dark
comedic
humor in there.
Yeah. Where Uncut Gems was just like, oh, you fucking idiot, what are you doing? Over and
Yeah.
over again. Where that was more like he's actively making bad choices to put himself in shittier positions for gambling addiction and stupidity reasons. Where again, like, all of hers are at least explainable. You're taking that shortcut at parking because you got to get to this other thing, and you have your client's baby that she abandoned you with, and like all these like layers.
Well, some girl
like,
wants to talk about a Chanel bag at a party, and you're like, please.
All that, yeah. It's, well, okay. So I want to pivot this to the end, because by the end of the movie, I won't lie, when it ended, I had no fucking clue what to make of the ending. But I feel like not because like it was too complicated or anything. It was just like I was so like overwhelmed with feelings from the experience that like I just couldn't even tie it and connect it at the end. But I was curious what you guys made of that, because it really is her. Like you said, Brandon, she runs off mimicking the mother from before, just kind of disappears onto the beach. But then we see her take that left turn and constantly try to run into the water, and seemingly getting rebuffed by the water again and again. And then that's what the scene when the daughter comes, and it's like, back to what we said earlier, was that real? Is she dead? Like, I have no fucking idea. And in this moment, I have no idea, but that's the first time. And I think too, like, it was a poignant moment where we see the kid's face, and it's like, you know, I have no idea what to know. Like, I don't have an answer for you guys on what I think really happened there.
I think the ending reminded me a little bit of like, and this is like such a weird segue, but a TV show that had a similar, not a similar ending, but like the message, I guess, is I was a big fan of BoJack Horseman, also a TV show, a movie that kind of leaves you with a little bit of like complete dread at moments. At the end of that series, he's with a friend that they've grown through over the series, and he says something to the effect of like, "Oh, life's a bitch, and then you die." And then she goes, "No, life's a bitch, and sometimes you live." And like, it's almost like sometimes that's worse. And it is what you make of it, and you're there. And a part of me thought if she did kill herself at the end of the movie, I would have hated that in a way, because it throws away everything that they're building on. And if the whole movie was just her last week of life or last month or whatever it was in the movie, I don't think I liked it. But in the way it ends, where she mirrors the daughter, again, a lot of mirroring in this, where the daughter is like, "Mommy, I promise I'll get better." And there she is, finally coming to grips that she's so unwell mentally. Like, it's sure there's all these excuses, real excuses, not excuses for the sake of not being guilty, but just actually being like, "I'll get better. I've been so unwell." There is no reason for her to be up at 2 a.m. trying to buy a bottle of wine with a sick daughter. That was her trying to get something of her life, as you said. But I think in reality, if she just went to bed at 9 o'clock with her daughter and got up every day and just tried to keep her head about her, but instead she was so desperately alone and desperately needing and wanting, there's something, a part of her maybe always been there, that she felt so unable to cope or overwhelmed all the time. And that was my takeaway, is her at the end saying, "I'll get better." It was almost finally this realization that everything's been the problem for her. Everybody else has been the problem. It's kind of like, if you can't find the asshole, maybe you're the asshole in every situation. I think it's her finally acknowledging, like, yeah, if every customer service interaction, if every professional and every person I've turned to for help, even my own husband or whoever, and through our perspective, she is constantly let down and screwed over. But yeah, maybe I think that was her finally acknowledging that she's been the unwell one. Between her and her sick daughter, she's been very mentally sick for maybe a long time. And I don't know, I think it was not like a bow was tied, but I think it was a pretty simple way out and to let us off at that stop, at that destination in the narrative that I felt it was okay. And I'm usually pretty critical on like a feel good ending because it wasn't feel good, but it was enough of a blanket, like not even an explanation, but just like an understanding was met maybe there. And I had hope. I was like, well, Christian Slater's home. He finally prioritized his family over his job, and maybe things will get better. Not explicitly, but I definitely felt like they left it at a good place, and that's hard to do after an anxiety ride like that. Like Beau's Afraid went to high fantasy. You know, I'm glad they didn't do that either. So for me,
Well,
the ending worked.
before you go, Adriana, I just the only reason that, like, I totally that I think that's a reasonable read. My only issue again is from the movie's perspective of like, is that what happened? Is that like the daughter's on the beach by herself? Like I was like, I found it to be unrealistic. Like, did that actually happen?
Oh,
Is
did she
that
like kill herself?
like right? And this like, so like, I know that's I totally agree if you read that as straight, but like conceptually I'm like, if this was real, would Christian Slater and the daughter at least not be there together? I just found it a potentially unrealistic concept that the daughter has wandered onto the beach.
I thought Christian
by
Slater was running up
herself to
behind
have the
her.
moment.
Like he wasn't in
I
the
don't
scene,
think,
but I
I
thought
don't
he was
remember
behind
that. I
him on
won't
the
say
beach.
it wasn't,
My
but that just
sort
wrinkles
of
that for me, I guess.
response to that would be like, I don't think it's out of line with the tone that the rest of the movie set. Like, there's always that kind of question of like, something feels almost like uncanny valley, even when she comes back home and the guys with the hazmat suits are in the they've fixed everything up perfectly, and
Yeah,
he's
midnight
back and
debris
it's all
removal.
pure white.
Yeah,
All of it has that kind of unreal quality. So to me, it's not like any less realistic that the daughter would suddenly be there. Like, it's in line with sort of what the movie has been giving us up to that point. It's almost fable-like in a sense. But yeah, I also am not like fully sure how to read the ending. I think maybe this is more about me, but read it a little less hopefully than Brandon. Like, to me, like, her not even being able to escape through death, like,
yeah.
Oh
by
yeah.
like, she's
Constantly
throwing her
rejected by the
body
waves.
into the waves, and it just will not happen. Like, that's like the ultimate form of escape, and she can't even do that. It's almost like depressing in a way. Like, I don't know. It felt very dark. Of like, you're stuck with this. You have to kind of deal with everything as much as you don't want to, which is kind of maybe in a way is hopeful, but it's almost like, yeah, like we do kind of just have to deal with the shit we're given. And yeah, but I don't know, I think I still feel like I need to like chew on it a bit more.
The old lady behind me when that happened, and I forgot this part because I was so wrapped up in the headiness of it and my feeling. But yeah, I remember I had the thought, and the old lady behind me said, she can't even kill herself. God damn it. Like, and everyone was like, yeah, you know, it's like, if you're like customer service with death or God is like, hey, I've requested to end my life. And they're like, sorry, ma'am, can you come back next Thursday? We have a system error. You know what I mean? Like, that's the equivalent of like, can't even do that, you know? So I see that element too. But piggybacking on that is like, if she can't even do that, maybe that is what gave her that clarity of like, I need to get better, because clearly nothing else will work, even death. Like, so it's like a reverse Final Destination. Wasn't her time, you know? So
yeah, I think after listening to both of those, because like, again, I never put any more thought into the ending at all. Like, I was, again, just so like enveloped in the journey that the end I didn't really contemplate much. But like, listening to you two talk about it, I think the thing, like, I think it's kind of a bit of both. I think where I would depart a little bit is, I think the thing, like, it's like saying I'm gonna get better. It doesn't capture, like we just talked about, the spirit of the movie. It's not just that she is making bad choices or anything like that. It's that, like, it's all compounding. So it's not like that in and of itself solves what's going on. Like, she could be making all these other little decisions we talked about that she's kind of making worse for herself. She could be making those right decisions. It doesn't take away from the rest of it, though, which is most of it, right? And so I do think I kind of like the interpretation of the like, because I think it's to say like, well, it sucks, so just kill yourself and it'll be over. Like, that's too clean of a thing, and also is not like a healthy perspective. So I think like the kind of this idea that, like, again, couldn't even kill yourself. Like, the choice we have in life is we have to persevere, and that really is kind of, I think, in a dark way, is a hopeful concept, because like, this is a exceedingly exceptional time in their lives. It will not always be like that, right? The child will grow up, assumingly, if the health thing goes wide, which, again, I think keeping that vague, like, it does seem like something they can live with, like, for at least a reasonably long time. But, like, that person will become an adult. The apartment will eventually be fixed. Yes, all of these things are coming to a head at the moment, but I think, like, that, to me, it's like a dark, not even I don't even want to say darkly hopeful. It's a realistic concept of that. Like, this is the rock bottom. That was her rock bottom, and now I wouldn't necessarily, it's like, and now it's all good from here on out, but like, it will get better, and you being more kind of aware of your role in that definitely will help. But, like, yeah, these circumstances that they are dealing with aren't forever, and it can get better. So, like, I think it was kind of that blend, because I only saw an isolated clip of an interview, like, on probably YouTube or something, for half a second, where the director talked about, I think, having a child of their own with health issues. I really hope I'm remembering this correctly, but, like, because I've seen a lot of, like, bits about, like, oh, the most anti-children movie of all time and blah blah blah, which, like, on the surface, absolutely,
it certainly made me not want to have kids.
right, but it's like one of those things where, like, this is such a right, like, it's one of those things, I think it's just part of the other thing, where it's like if I was that kid's, or if I was that her kid, and I was like, saw this as an adult, I'd be like, fuck, did my mom hate me? Like, you can have really real feelings about that. But I do think there was a nugget of, like I said, maybe not hopefulness necessarily, but of perseverance, that I think is maybe at the core, that I think, processing a little more and listening to you guys talk, that I think is kind of at the core of that ending, which I like.
I would say I also came out more optimistic, in the sense where, like, and this sounds, again, like maybe my, like, trad dad's home take here, but, like, as far as it goes, the two times in the movie, or at least the one time, when Conan comes into her office and he forcefully tells the other kid to go wait in the living room or go home, you do see, like, there's a reaction shot of her getting what she wanted. She wanted somebody to take the wheel and just make a call. Because I think the word that I wanted to say, and I think I can finally insert here, is you make bad choices when you also have decision fatigue. I feel like, dealing with everything she's going through, she didn't necessarily even want the validation sometimes. She just wanted somebody else to take control. And in that traditional sense, it's like Christian Slater shows up, and it's infuriating how he does seemingly or ethereally take care of the problem. So I think a part of me was thinking, like, this has to be it, because the one moment where she had that relief of a man coming in and just laying down the law, taking control, taking the pressure off her, that's what I think she wanted more than validation. I get the sense that she's used to the therapy world, and when she realized she was never going to get the validation, or not validation, but like the ear to listen to, somebody just to tell her, or tell, because she even says that, I just want somebody to tell me what to do, and Conan does in that one scene, and then when Christian Slater shows up and does it in that one scene, he's just like, yeah, the house is being fixed, I'm on it. Like, it's, a huge part of me, because it blows up when the family drama is revealed, not the house. But I did think, like, in theory, yeah, the house is getting fixed. And as somebody who desperately craves a little bit of normality and wanting to get back to, like, a sense of normalcy, like, again, with my basement flooding and moving around a lot, it feels like, it's like, I really was optimistic that everything she wanted, somebody to come in and take control and restore some normalcy for her, seemed to have happened. It's just she understandably was at the end of her rope, and that caused her to crash out. So I really think you remove that one bad day aspect or that one bad week or month she was living with. She does get what she asked for. She does get her partner back. She does have a new appreciation and self-awareness for what things have been. So, yeah, weirdly enough, I almost need to choose that I accept this movie on a uplifting note at the end. Cause, otherwise, I've got no hope for myself. I related way too goddamn much.
Yeah, I don't even know what else I've got left on this, honestly. I think it's again, it's like I wish, even if you have to watch this at home, which like again, unfortunately, a lot of people will, just because it was such a limited release and things like that, and very little support. I did look it up, by the way. It was A24.
Yes, I was gonna say
guys,
earlier.
you could have marketed this shit a
Big
little better.
A24
for the
vibes.
love
There
of
should have been a
God.
Fortnite skin, dude, for Conan O'Brien,
Yeah,
dude.
I would wear that. But yeah, no, I think definitely, like, if you get the chance to see this, like I said, it's one of those things that it had such a transcendent experience with a stranger. So it's like, you know, like we said, Adriana and I said, we watched it alone, but we didn't. We were by ourselves, but we were with all of these other people. So definitely a movie, I think, like, watch with somebody, or at least get somebody else to watch it so you guys can have an experience like that together. Because I think it's like one of those things that was just like, it's such an interesting way. Like, I feel like I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie that, for like obvious reasons, like spectacle movies, where you're like, this is a movie made for theaters. I feel this exact same way, but for like such smaller scale things. Like, this isn't like an Avatar. This was made for $500 million or whatever, and it's such a spectacle and it's so technical. Like, this is just like stripped down to the essential cores of filmmaking. And as the end result of this was one of, if not the best, one of the best theatrical examples and experiences I think you could possibly put together, and is one of those things that I think I will only appreciate. I like it more now talking about it with you guys than I did even when I finished it. And I think that this is a movie that by the time we put together our list for best of the year will probably only rise up my list as the year goes on. So
Well said. I definitely agree. And, I would like to say I saw a thing online that was like the male loneliness epidemic best explained and noticed. When you go to a movie theater, look at all the single men sitting by themselves watching a movie theater. All those guys, almost all of them, probably want to talk to you about the movie after. And in my experience leaving this movie theater, the old lady who piped up a few times bumped into my girlfriend and I and just talked to us about the movie for like 5-10 minutes. And we noticed there's a bunch of other similar groups, like two different couples I clocked sitting differently in the movie theater were talking outside the bathroom. And I was like, man, this really does feel like a simpler time. Like, this is kind of what it used to feel like in high school, where even if you didn't go with somebody from high school, if they were in your theater, you'd be like, oh, no way. Yeah, it's crazy. You saw The Dark Knight, you know? And this is not The Dark Knight, but as far as a movie that just makes people talk or kind of communally empathize and feel like you were watching the same thing, especially in a streaming world where, you know, it's like, it's hard to talk about any monotheist or monoculture anymore because it doesn't really exist. Everyone's watching their own niche programming. It was really nice to share that hour and a half with strangers and feel like everybody was on the same wavelength and hold space for discussion, surface level or otherwise. Yeah, just can't recommend that enough. And I'm so fortunate I saw the last screening on Thursday this week before it left theaters altogether.
I'm glad you finally smartened up and listened to me, Brandon, because I was pushing you to see this for a week, and I knew you were skeptical, but I'm so glad. Like, you told me, and I was like, I was so excited for you.
Not to derail, but if I saw this movie a week prior and the headspace I was moving and damaging the panel van I rented and all that. You would have
ran into the ocean.
Dude, I would have ran into the ocean. My girlfriend and I, dude, if we saw this 2 weeks earlier when our basement was getting worked on and we had contractors everywhere fucking things up, like, if I saw this movie any other time than the one day I did, I think I would have, like, had a serious crisis catharsis. You know what I'm saying? This movie was way too much for somebody having a bad day, honestly. But yeah.
I think I'm a bit of an outlier because unlike you guys, this movie ended and I didn't want to even look at another human being. I just wanted to be alone, process. I'm like, I don't want to see or talk to anyone right now. I just want to like absorb this. But I have loved talking about it with you guys. I think it's so great that we get to do this, and it has enriched my experience of it, and just has given me more to chew on. So
I think the best thing I can say about this recording is I feel like for the first time in a while, because usually we're all chomping at the bit to say something edgewise or whatever. There's a few times in this recording I've noticed we've all had the same look of like the gears are turning about the movie, and like the chills of remembering scenes that, like you said, Shea, were like a nightmare you're trying to forget, where it's like, oh yeah. Like I was trying to formulate a bit about the Conan rat in the cage thing. And then I was like, no, I can't even revisit that because I was going to say, it reminded me of the Smashing Pumpkins song, where it's like, despite all my rage, I'm still just rat in a cage. No needle drops in the whole movie. Glad there wasn't any. Didn't need it. But yeah, absolutely great time.
The sound, I can't believe we didn't talk about the sound design, but MVP of this movie, I was like,
the subtle beeps of the monitor
so
fading in and out.
Yeah, the beeps and everything.
So good. Yeah, probably, honestly, I know we're not trying to spoil our top 10 list, but it's super high on mine, and it's one of the several movies I've given like a 5 on Letterboxd to this year. I definitely.
So, on that quick note, I just I've updated my review.
You finally beat the 4.
First 5 stars of the year. I think again, like I said, with time, it's become kind of like undeniable. Like it's stayed with it ends, and I haven't just forgotten. It's like I was so excited. Like I was pushing you guys, but you got to see it. We have to talk about it, and like that's the sign of a good movie. And again, I think the longer I sit with this, the more and more I'll appreciate it. So,
yeah, check it out on streaming because it's no longer in theaters. Pay money to see it. Be like me, spend $27 or whatever on Amazon Prime if it gets a big release. Because, I hope this director doesn't take another 16-year break and makes me feel terrible and enjoy my time in theaters sooner than later. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. I feel like normally we end our whole episode going off about some terrible theater goer experience or a concession line brawl or something. And I really feel like on this note, there is nothing wrong with our theater experience, and it was a community building thing, which the whole reason why we do this podcast is it feels like sometimes it's nice to feel like a community of theater goers that just want to talk movies. And I can't imagine a better movie to incite conversation with strangers or like-minded friends. I was excited to talk about the podcast with you guys, but having I think her name was like Dolores or something. The old lady was just so thrilled. She was like, my condo in Florida flooded, and this movie related to me so much. And I was sitting there being like, I've been living in squalor just the same for a month or two now. So anywho, yeah.
Yeah, the big takeaway is make your movie so enthralling that no one is even tempted to pull out their phone or talk or be an asshole.
Grab a hold of the audience and don't fucking let us go.